Hi everyone, and welcome to the Aquarius August 2021 self-connection reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Hi and welcome. So this is one of 3 connection readings I complete each month for each sign that focuses on bringing awareness to your unique, internal, authentic, and singular self, and how that self connects to your external environment and to others as well. And this is all in an effort to help you be able to see your unique place and purpose and tap into feeling emotional fulfillment and happiness and all of those good things that come with a sense of seeing your purpose and feeling a sense of belonging. So Aquarius, as I was tapping into your energy, first of all, I do utilize the Triad of Engagement, which focuses on the 3 principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation. This is a coaching tool I've developed, and you will see me utilize these 3 principles throughout the reading. So for our first card here, I'm pulling a Power of Surrender card, which will focus on the concept of curiosity, and we're going to build a question around the energies that are represented in this card for you to keep in mind to help bring awareness to some aspect of your unique internal self that needs to either have some attention brought to it or perhaps a block around it, but that by the end of the month you'll be able to work with that unique part of yourself. So as I'm shuffling and pulling a card here, I'm going to go over just what I picked up intuitively as I was pulling or getting into your energy. So Aquarius, as I was sitting with your energy and shuffling the cards, I saw like one of those large shells that people would utilize to, kind of blow into, and almost, I think they're called conch shells. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, but I saw that shell and I saw somebody picking it up and blowing through it to make a noise to almost like herald in or bring attention to something. And I feel, Aquarius, that that's the energy you're sitting in with the month of August, that you guys are stepping into a place of perhaps communication and stepping into a place of leadership, where you are really going to be working with bringing attention to something that the general collective experience needs to be made aware of. And Aquarius, I like to say that you guys have this beautiful superpower to be able to tap into and connect with the higher realms of the divine, that you can somehow come into contact. And that's where you come up with these really interesting and often avant-garde ideas, which when you're younger, moving into from childhood to adulthood, when you're younger, it can kind of seem daunting. It can make you feel like perhaps you don't belong or that you're an outcast, because you do have this ability to kind of see things and tap into things that others do not. And I think now for many of you who are moving more into the adult side of your personal experience, that now you're going to kind of be stepping into this place in August specifically where you are confident in some aspect of something that maybe perhaps up to this point has made you feel a little like an outsider, or that you felt a little like you don't belong. And now you're going to get that chance to really have clarity on something and be able to bring attention to it and actually take leadership towards drawing people towards this something, this aspect that is going to be, or this idea that's going to actually be bringing out some aspect of your unique internal self, really playing to that sense of where you fit in your purpose. So the card that came out for where we're going to be curious for this month, and when we're thinking about and speaking about curiosity, we are really speaking to the principles of optimism, openness and receptivity and turning curiosity inwards towards ourselves. So this is where we get a chance to clear those blocks of where we've put in place those negative thought patterns around, I can't change. This is just the way I am. I can't bring that part of myself out because if I do, bad things are going to happen because they've happened in the past. Or this is also where we perhaps have not wanted to focus on a part of ourselves because it's too painful. And through curiosity and being open, this is where we get the chance to kind of be able to see ourselves in a new light. And so, as we are thinking about those principles, again, of curiosity, of openness, optimism, and receptivity, we're going to build a question to help unlock some aspect of self. So we have surrender to what is. And it says, flow with what is instead of fighting it. When you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace. And I really think for you guys, and kind of in alignment with what, now sometimes the readings don't line up with the first impression or the intuition, the intuitive message that I got, but oftentimes they do. That when we're thinking about drawing attention to something specific, and at the same time letting whatever you're drawing your attention to, or drawing others' attention to, letting that help bring out and illuminate some part of yourself. Well, when we're thinking about surrender to what is, there is this quality of, when it says flow with what is instead of fighting it, what's coming through for me personally is flowing with what's coming into you now. Now, there are times when I have intuitively read this card as, take with what is, go with it, don't try to fight it. This is, if you're getting mixed messages, just try to accept that you have to work within the kind of earthly confines, so to speak, of what is, even though you want so badly to move forward and dramatically change something. But what I'm feeling now for you is the reverse. It's that perhaps up to this point, you guys have been surrendering to what is. You guys have been kind of working within the box, so to speak. And Aquarius, you don't really belong in the box. You are meant to be the herald of change, to be the herald of not only just change on a personal level and to come up maybe with individual inspirational ideas or innovative ideas, but to also bring that into the collective human experience to elevate from a much grander and larger perspective. So for you guys, I feel like this month, the question actually around this, the energy of this card is, where have you been boxing yourself in to what is, to societal standards, to familial standards, to standards you've just even set on yourself? And where does what is currently coming into you, whether it's an idea, an inspiration, or some aspect of your creativity, that now is really pushing on those boundaries and needs to be looked at? What part of yourself feels like it's penned in? And when we're thinking about self, this isn't just, well, I wish I could win the lottery and have a bunch of money and then I'd really feel free. No. When we're talking about ourself, our internal, unique, authentic self, we're diving a little deeper than that. We're diving into that this month there is some aspect of yourself that is being asked to be let free, to extend past set boundaries. Again, whether you've put them on yourself or whether those are coming from the society or the culture you live in or the family or religion that you find yourself also in, there's an element here of there's some part of yourself that needs to be allowed to go beyond those boundaries, so that possibly you can bring attention to some aspect of your connection to the divine that needs to be brought into the greater human collective experience. And that's really because right now, as a collective, we are going through a great time of change. And that's happening all over the world, mostly spurred on by the pandemic, but also brought on by the fact that we are moving into an era where we really are starting to see the impact of just how much things like social media and our technology, which allows us to utilize social media and to connect so quickly and to be able to bring different aspects of our collective experience together so quickly, is really kind of, we're seeing the side effects to that. And we're just starting now to understand what that looks like when you're in constant and quick communication with not only those in your immediate surrounding, but those all over the world and possibly beyond, depending on what you believe in. So there is this quality here that we're going through this great time of change and growth, not only as individuals, but as a collective. And I do feel, Aquarius, that you guys are really being asked to step into that superpower, that leadership capability that you have, to be able now to bring some of these new innovative ideas down. And now it's time to share them. But in order to share them, you're going to have to push past the status quo. What is? So that question, that opening question for yourself, is really going to be, what part of yourself, your internal self, so this can be, maybe you are working on a creative idea, and maybe you even work in a creative field, but when you try to share your own ideas, they get squashed a little bit. Like, yeah, no, like this is the way we do it. Maybe you're on a marketing team or a graphic design team, and you're like, but man, if we would do this instead, this would really be impactful. And they're like, no, this is how, this is the tried and true method. This is the marketing tried and true method, and this is how we're going to do it. Or, maybe you have been on social media and maybe you're feeling like you want to leave a platform because you feel so penned in by what you can and cannot say around a specific topic. But that topic is meant to be shared. And so you're sitting there trying to find these creative ways of, how can I find another platform? But then you're kind of pigeonholed by, if you try to find another platform that's not one of the big 3 or 4, that then you're limiting your audience. And so there's like this quality of having to bust out of the seams, so to speak, and really face that challenge of finding what works, but still finding a way to be able to share that idea, or to share that creative part of yourself, or to share some aspect that you're being called to share now. And that, again, might be being penned in by some aspect of your environment. And I know it's difficult, Aquarius. I know, because I've been there myself, both in the workplace where you feel like you have so many ideas to share, and you can see so many better ways to do things. And even when you do share them, you see, sometimes they get, again, maybe even when they're accepted and they're implemented, maybe even still they're not implemented correctly because they're still being implemented within the confines. So it's really about staying true to your idea, staying true to that feeling of needing to express this in a specific way, and seeing that idea through to its full kind of realization, so to speak. It's a very interesting message, Aquarius, that's coming through. Very different from everybody else's. You guys are really, I think, being asked to be change makers. And that can be difficult and scary, but it can also be extremely exciting and liberating at the same time. So really choose to step into that perspective, because you are going to be part of this beautiful change that's coming forward right now for the human collective experience. And it may seem a little confusing. You may not even understand why you feel like you have to push certain boundaries in certain areas. But this is where also tapping into the flow within yourself versus the flow of what is established is going to help you be able to unlock that. So let's see, Aquarius. We're going to move into courage. Now, courage is where we get to tap into our seat of personal power, because this is really where we get a chance to control the one thing we can control, which is ourselves, through the decisions and the actions we choose to take and make. And, we cannot control our external environment and we cannot control others, but we can control ourselves. And so in this seat of courage, this is really where we get a chance to take the courage to make those tough decisions, like perhaps leaving one social media platform for a lesser known one, but at least that's where you can get the chance to share your message more clearly. Or perhaps deciding to, if your current workplace is not allowing you to share your ideas, that you either find a new creative way to share them that's maybe a little outside of the box, even to your own, even to the place where you work, but still might get the attention of higher ups. And actually, I don't know if any of you guys watched the TV show Dave. It's about a real rapper. He's a white Jewish rapper. But the TV show that he has written and stars in is kind of autobiographical about his experience in a fictionalized setting. But it's a beautiful example of what I'm trying to get across here, is feeling different, again, being a white Jewish rapper, that's kind of a strange mix, correct? And feeling out of place as you are trying to just go with what feels right for you to do, but having to kind of hit these roadblocks, and how you navigate that, how you continue to still honor yourself, take action in accordance with yourself, and share the part of yourself that you feel needs to be shared. But again, having to face these challenges of being penned in, of being told, well, you can't do that, or this is the way it's always been done, and then still finding creative ways to get around it. And so that's really, if you guys want to check out that show, trust me, I have no involvement in it. I find it a very entertaining show and a great look at staying true to self, even in the face of, again, kind of the status quo of what is. It's also a good lesson into, where sometimes you do need to be more self-aware, because this character can often have a complete lack of self-awareness at the same time. And so you get to see the juxtaposition of acting in alignment with self, while also the consequences of when you act without awareness of self. So it's a good show. All right. So for thinking about courage and really thinking about how it does take courage to have to kind of go outside of the line, so to speak, we have dog spirit. And it says, be loyal to what you love. And I think this couldn't be more perfect. So it's number 19, breaking down to a number 1, technically, in numerology, for those of you who follow that. So this is the number 1 in numerology, is all about being the leader. It's you. It's you and your connection to the divine. And it really symbolizes that concept of the I, of the individual, of your unique connection to spirit. And when we're thinking about, here, be loyal to what you love, well, that's where that courage comes in. You love yourself. You love your idea. You love your individuality. You love this part of yourself, and you're going to trust it. So when we talk about curiosity, we're tapping into the awe and wonder again in not only our external environment, but as well as ourself, because we're tapping into that kind of place where we are getting excited to be able to see some aspect of self that we haven't seen before. When we move into courage, we get to tap into faith. Faith that what we're feeling inside, faith that what we are called to pursue and to act on is going to be and bring about our basically live externally, as I like to say, live into life. It's bringing the inside of you out to engage with your external environment. And that's where you get a chance to see where these internal parts of yourself get to be of service to the greater collective experience. And that's where you get a chance to see where you belong and the impact that you as a unique individual have on the greater collective experience. And so there really is this element of stepping into faith of, well, if I'm loyal to what I love, if I'm loyal to what I'm passionate about, and I have the courage to take action on behalf of that love, well, then I really should be excited and expect a positive outcome. Now, granted, there's always going to be changes with actions. And when we deal with the external environment, because we can't control our external environment, there's always going to be unknowns. And those unknowns might produce challenges. But the more we tap into faith and the more we act from a place of courage and a place of taking action from authenticity, the more we will start to understand that external change and the unknowns are not to be feared. They're actually meant to be looked forward to, because that's what actually allows us to keep unlocking those unique parts of ourselves. The challenges we face are unique to us. They're meant to help us bring out those internal parts of ourselves and work with them even more, so that then we get a chance to better see our place and purpose, and we have a better chance of feeling meaning and emotional fulfillment. So, very clear message here. Be loyal to what you love and use that as your guiding light, that point of faith, as you're taking action on behalf of yourself. And again, might be a hard month for you guys. You might have to really dig deep to have to say, well, you know what? I really stand behind this idea, and I'm going to find a way to do it, even if my place of work doesn't want to support it. I'm going to find another outlet that will. And I'm not going to give up on this. Or I really feel that I have a perspective that should be seen by others, and maybe, YouTube or somebody else is censoring that, and it's time for you to find another outlet so that you can speak to that topic in the way that best suits you. I'm trying to think of some other examples where you might feel, this could even be on the family level. Maybe there's some aspect of wanting to live an alternative lifestyle that really pushes the boundaries of how others see living an individual lifestyle. And you kind of have to go outside the box for yourself. And that's fine. That's exactly what we don't realize, is that the more we live authentically and we live in flow with ourselves, basically, that we follow what we love, that we are loyal to those aspects of ourselves that we feel called to engage with, that ignite passion within us. The more, no matter how strange they may seem or how different from another they may seem, that they're meant to be shared because they are a part of the unique external puzzle. And the more that you act in a way that's authentic to yourself, the more others can see your piece, so to speak. And those that are meant to fit around you can then actually see where they fit. Somebody might see you living your strange avant-garde alternative lifestyle and say, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I wanted to live, but I just didn't know how to make it happen. And they're going to be attracted to you and be able to actually see better their place and purpose and experience meaning and fulfillment for themselves by seeing through you as an example what perhaps they couldn't unlock in themselves, or were too afraid even to feel like this is my place and purpose. So that's why it's important for us to really live authentically in accordance with our uniqueness, because there are no two individuals that have the same perspective or destiny, because we each live only our life in this time from our perspective. And I do talk a lot and focus on logotherapy and some of my other aspects of my practice. And one of the tenets of logotherapy is really focusing on the fact that each one of us has our own destiny, we're each filled with our own potentialities, so to speak. And only we can realize them. So only we, and that just boils down to very simply, only we can realize our own potential. And we as a unique individual are singular in that no one else will ever be us in this moment. And so our potential is truly limited to us as a singular being. Nobody else will ever be able to do what we can at any given time. And so we should be trying always to live those potentialities into life. Okay, I think Aquarius, you, out of all the signs, would be able to grasp that concept. So now we're going to move into contemplation. And contemplation is the final principle in the Triad of Engagement. So we have curiosity, we have courage, and now we have contemplation. And contemplation is where we get to engage with connection. We get to connect the dots between our actions and the consequences of those actions. And we get a chance to learn from those consequences. This is our seat of self-education through continued engagement with our external environment. So we get to meditate and integrate and reflect. And this is where we get a chance to really avoid emotional and spiritual stagnation. Because if we're using contemplation as a tool to constantly take a look at and be aware of the actions we take as well as the consequences that come from them, this is where we get that chance to say, oh, you know what? I've taken the same action 4 times. I've gotten the same bad consequence or negative consequence or just not quite what I was expecting. So now let me go back and be curious. So we bring kind of this circle all the way around again. So we start with curiosity, move into action, then we contemplate, and then we go back to curiosity because we notice something, because we reflect on something. And how we learn is then to go back and start the process again to say, okay, well, next time I'm going to take a slightly different action. Because again, I can only control my actions. I can't force somebody else to react in a different way. And I can't force my external environment to have exactly the same set of circumstances again. So I have to take control of my actions and shift the decisions I make and the actions I choose to take to see if I can tweak the outcome a little bit. And this is where we get a chance to avoid getting into the same, bad relationship with multiple people, or having the same bad job experience, but you've gone to multiple different jobs and yet it's the same experience over and over again, or having that same fight with your significant other. This is where we get a chance to avoid kind of the Groundhog Day, where we just repeat, and we can't ever get past it to really continue to grow as a spiritual and emotional being. All right, so let's see what comes out for Aquarius for contemplation. This is going to be your last card for the reading, and this card came out, I think, for maybe Capricorn, I'm not sure. I know it came out recently for one of the other signs. It says, you're already doing it. Stop overthinking, keep facing your true north. And I think this just ties in this whole reading perfectly. There's this component here of continuing continuing what you're already feeling, continuing whatever has been sparked by your connection to the divine, whether it's an idea, it's a creative passion, it's a idea you need to share. There's this component of you're already doing it, you're already living it, you already are experiencing it, but now you just kind of have to keep going. And most likely, kind of like with what you see here, and I never really noticed this before, but it's a woman who's kind of standing on the edge, and you see all these pillars here, and this looks almost like this is the pathway. And then she looks like she's trying to make the decision to kind of go technically off the path and out into the unknown. And this is really the quality I'm getting for you guys for Aquarius for this month, is that you're being asked to go beyond. You're being asked to be the leader in whatever topic or field or aspect of creativity or passion. You're being asked to step beyond what currently is, those boundaries, and to draw outside the lines, because that's what's needed. That's how change happens. Change doesn't have to happen all at once with negative things like war or natural disasters, or, when we take a look back at the history of the human experience, many great changes happened through those means. But I think we're moving into an age now where we don't need to have those things to push change. We can instead choose to start tapping into awareness instead, and change starts with the individual. Change starts with us deciding to take small actions that then open up the doors for avenues of change that people might not have otherwise have seen. And that can look like simply sharing an idea. That could be writing a book that ignites, actually, again, I'm just kind of, sorry guys, this reading's kind of all over the place. I feel like I'm getting so inspired by your energy. But actually a good example of this is the book A Christmas Carol. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with, I guess, British authors and A Christmas Carol in general. But the author who wrote, Charles Dickens, wrote A Christmas Carol. And now A Christmas Carol, when we think about it, it's one of the most famous, I'd say, Christmas holiday movies. It's been remade a bazillion times. Everybody knows who Scrooge is, even if you haven't read the book or seen the movie. But what was interesting about that book is that it's a very small book. It's more of like a booklet. And Charles Dickens wrote that book just kind of randomly at a time when I think he wrote it in less than just like a few short months. And it was a time, he had a big family. I think he had like 6 or 7 children. And it was a time when his family was going through some hardship because he was a writer and he wasn't selling anything really at that time. And so he needed something. And he just kind of popped this book out and decided to, he was told like, well, this isn't even going to be anything. Like, what is this little book? And they published it. And they happened to publish it around the holidays when it just seemed right, obviously, because that's the setting for the book, is the Christmas holiday. But what they weren't expecting was that little book like ignited the hearts of an entire country. It was something that England needed at that time. They needed this inspirational story of redemption. And the book sold like wildfire. And it actually helped, this little book, this little fictional story actually helped bring up the entire morale of a country's people. And this was all just kind of on a whim that he decided to share this. And when he was told that it wasn't going to be really anything, he was like, just go with it. And the response that came from it was stunning and shocking, and still actually to this day affects people in the same way. And there's so many more people now that get affected by this story because of how many times it's been made into a movie or a TV miniseries, or how many times it's read around, family fireplaces, around the holidays. There's this component of now it's almost become synonymous with the holiday of Christmas. But there was a time when that book didn't exist, and there was a time when that sentiment that comes from that book didn't exist, hadn't entered the hearts and the minds of the general populace. And that message is so powerful, that message of redemption, that it still to this day creates a level of change for those who read it for the first time or experience its message for the first time. And it highlights and builds on a message that already exists, but it brings new light to it, new life. And it's such a small, simple thing that you think, well, how can me writing this little book actually have any impact on anybody or anything? And yet there's a shining example. So I hope, Aquarius, as much as I kind of feel like I've been all over the place and I've had some strange examples for you guys, you can see I read a lot and watch TV a lot. I really hope that you take this month to tap into being fearless and courageous and sharing a part of yourself that might be scary to do, and to push past boundaries that might seem very scary to walk beyond. But know that it's meant to be, and that you're being asked to really, in this time, step forward as part of the change that's happening. And that change can only happen in this quiet, peaceful way if we choose to step up and live into those potentials. If we don't, that's when things kind of get off kilter, and all of a sudden a negative experience has to push us to get to that point where we have to then kind of step into that heroic quality of courage. So if we can just live into ourselves and have courage on a day-to-day basis, we get to see change happen in a peaceful way versus through negative shakeups because we've waited too long. All right, Aquarius, I hope this has been an illuminating and hopefully uplifting and motivating reading. If you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a one-on-one coaching session, the link to my website is in the description box below. If you'd like to turn a one-on-one coaching session into a live tarot reading, I by all means can do that. Just need to write that in the notes as you're booking. Same with the personal tarot readings. If you want them to be geared towards a specific subject to you, just write that in the notes and I will film and do your reading based on the topic that you're most interested in. I hope you check out your next 2 readings for the month of August, the spiritual connection and the love connection reading, and I look forward to doing those readings for you. Bye, Aquarius.